Good morning. My name is Jeff Shaw. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Curry Supply Company. Thank you for joining us this hour. We're going to talk about our fuel and lube truck product offering. Being that in our product line, it's probably one of the more complex and customized products. Hopefully what we can do today is simplify some of that and break it down. So what we're going to do is take a quick walk around the outside of our 2,000 gallon fuel and lube truck and hopefully in the process identify what's really just 4 systems that get repeated over and over again to make this product a little bit more simple. But let's go ahead and get started with the chassis. What we're talking about today is a 2,000 gallon fuel and lube truck. This particular truck is on a Peterbilt 348. Fully loaded, this truck weighs about 47,500 pounds, so we spec them with 16,000 pound front axles and 40,000 pound rear axles with a cab to trunnion of 156 inches. The fully loaded weight on the rear axle usually comes in right around just under 34,000 pounds. So we're meeting federal bridge law anywhere we go around the country. But as is always the case, it's best to fill your truck up, get it full of fuel, put some tools in it in your operator and weigh the truck before you take it out on the road. This particular truck, again, like I said, 2,000 gallons of fuel in an open platform design with lubrication products, air, grease, all being on the platform. But let's start with our tank construction. This truck, 2,000 gallons, fully welded, dished, and flanged heads. This not only adds rigidity and strength to the tank design, but gives us a nice radius edge for good paint adhesion. All of our trucks come standard with a ladder for entrance to the upper manway if you're going to be using top fill. And if you look back behind here, we have air valves for the internal valve. Underneath the tank, at the very bottom is an air emergency valve that can shut off the fuel to the entire system. So in the case of an emergency, you can either hit this breakaway or turn off your internal valve. All of our trucks, whether it's a straight fuel truck or a fuel and lube truck in this case, come standard with the internal valve for safety regulations. It's also going to close as soon as the parking brake is released. So for us to operate this truck, we have to open up the parking brake, and that'll allow us to open up our internal valve and start to fuel the truck. Up top, all of our fuel tanks come with rollover protection. That's what you see right beside the ladder. That way, if the truck were in an accident and were to roll over, the breather valves or the manway is not going to rip open and spill fuel onto the highway. The fuel system itself is powered by a hydraulically driven black mirror pump. It's a 2-inch pump that produces about 80 gallons a minute at the pump head. But once we get it back to the nozzle, we typically spec it with an 1.25 or 1.5 hose, and we're going to be doing somewhere around 56 gallons a minute at the nozzle. Additionally, our tanks have a 2,000 gallon tank, has a single baffle. A common option for all of our fuel trucks, whether we're doing a 2,000 gallon fuel and lube or a 1,000 gallon fuel and lube, would be to partition off the diesel tank, and that way we could maybe go 1,500 gallons of off-highway diesel and 500 gallons of on-highway diesel. Or sometimes if you have big equipment or big machines on site, you might need the additional capacity for waste oil or another product. So a number of configurations, but as a standard product offering, we offer them in 1,000 and 2,000 gallons of fuel only. All the other components are the same: the emergency shutoffs, the hydraulically driven pump, so on and so forth. We have aluminum underbody storage up front. It's a common option that operators will ask for tool drawers. We can put tool drawers in there, spill kits, customize it any way that you need to see it. Next down is our hydraulic reservoir, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more. This particular truck is spec'd for all hydraulic components, a hydraulic system to run the air compressor, a hydraulic system to run our product pumps, and hydraulic system to run our fuel pumps. So this is a 60-gallon reservoir, and it's powering our hydraulic system, but we'll get into that a little bit more once we get to the top of the truck. Moving on down, again, like I'd mentioned earlier, this is a platform design. The stylized side of it is really just more for aesthetic appearance and to keep prying eyes out of whatever it is that's going on up there, all the different product tanks, and just to give you a clean finished appearance. But this is what we're calling our open lube design. It can also be spec'd with an enclosed box if you live in a northern climate and we need heating and insulation to keep the lubricants more fluid. But even on our open design, we have a side access door for our grease pump. This particular truck has a heat plate on it that is tied into the engine coolant, and that's going to keep your grease warm. So in cold environments, it's going to be able to dispense a little bit easier. We highly recommend that if you're in a cold climate that you put a heat plate or an electric heat wrap on your grease kegs. This one's spec'd out for a 400-pound, 50-gallon drum. Moving down, we have additional storage where our air compressor would be mounted on top behind, but again, the same as all the storage boxes on here. We can put tool drawers, we can put shelves, we can really spec this out any way that you need to see it. Moving around to the back of the truck, this is where it appears to be complicated, but again, we're looking at four primary delivery systems. We're looking at a fuel delivery system, we're looking at a lubricant delivery system, a water product delivery system for water-based products like your antifreeze or DEF fluids, and an air delivery system. So each product is, and when we say product, we're talking about an oil-based product, 40-weight oil or hydraulic oil, something of that nature. Each product has a 50-foot Han-A hose reel. It's equipped with a Graco digital meter, and we pick this stuff because we feel it's the best in the industry. Han-A makes one of the top hose reels, the most durable. The Graco meters have just been bomb-proof for us and gives you an easy read on how much product's being dispensed into each machine. Our grease reel, again, 50 feet of half-inch with a Graco grease dispensing nozzle on it. Our grease is air-powered. It's a 50-to-1 Graco Fireball pump. We can option in bulk grease or hydraulic pumps if you have a different application. But what we put in standard for our fuel and lube trucks are 400-pound grease, 50-to-1 Graco Fireball air pump. Again, it's a really simple pump. It has been bomb-proof for us. There's not a lot of working parts. It just works, and our goal with all these trucks is to produce products that reduce complexity and keep you guys operating longer. This truck is equipped with a Wiggins fuel system. This is an 1.25 inch fuel hose with a Wiggins fast fill nozzle. It's the unpressurized version of the Wiggins. We have switched over to that. Wiggins is an option. We can put on standard high flow or low flow automotive style fuel dispensing nozzles. We can do the Wiggins if you have machines that are compatible for it. Or we could even do a Scully system if that's what you guys need where you're loading fuel. The Wiggins is easy to add on to any of our existing stock fuel and lube trucks, whereas a Scully system is something that typically needs to be discussed up front. We need to know what kind of Scully system it is. There's vapor recovery involved, and typically it's best to design the entire truck to operate with the Scully fuel system. We have DEF products with a regular automotive style dispenser. It's standard that has become standard in the industry to include DEF on all of our fuel and lube trucks. Typically we spec 2% on the low side, probably 3% on the high side of fuel, of DEF fluid per the amount of fuel that we're carrying. So in this case, it's about 2 3/4%. We have a 55-gallon DEF tank and a 2,000-gallon fuel tank. We design our trucks so that maintenance and serviceability are key. We want to be able to easily access all of our filters. In this case, we have our fuel filters here. Can be quickly accessed, replaced, maintained. We don't want to bury them back behind all the reels where you're going to have to do a lot of work to remove them and get them out. A manual fuel meter is standard. This one's rated at 60 gallons per minute. We can also put digital ticket readers or any of the common fuel systems that people have if you need printout meters or GPS or whatever it is you're using to keep track of your fuel usage. We can add that in as an option, but we do build these standard with a regular fill meter. Moving on down the line, we have a Graco 1590 1-to-1 diaphragm pump. This is for our waste oil, and it's the one system that we hadn't talked about yet, and we'll talk about it more whenever we get up on top of the truck as far as how do we size the products or the size of the waste oil tank versus the products that we're carrying. But in this particular truck, it's a 250-gallon waste oil tank. It comes with a 4-way valve so that it can empty the tank or fill up the waste oil that you're taking out of the machines. The waste oil reel is 25 feet of 1.25 inch. One thing we get asked about, fairly common, can we go to 50 feet or can we go to 75 feet for our waste oil reel? And the simple answer is no. We try to keep it reasonably short, 25 feet, maybe 30 feet at max. But with the one-to-one diaphragm pumps, especially if we're running downhill to a machine or have a long stretch, you're really going to struggle to be picking up the waste oil fluid at distances much past 30 feet. We do have different options and different solutions that we can provide if you have an application where you need to run out a long waste oil hose, and we can talk about that if you run into that application. Last thing I want to hit on before we move are product dispensers. And whenever we get up top, we'll talk about the differences more between hydraulic and air pumps as being very common options or common questions that we get asked. Should we go air? Should we go hydraulic? This truck's equipped with hydraulic, as I mentioned before, and we have these calibrated at between 10 and 12 gallons per minute for each product to deliver. So, those are the kind of questions that we need to be discussing when we're talking about speccing out a fuel lube. What kind of machines are you going to be servicing? What kind of production capabilities do you need? And certainly with the hydraulic-driven black mirror pump on the fuel, and with the hydraulic-driven product pumps, we're able to drive a lot of service and a lot of production out in the field. We'll move around. Coming back to the front of the fuel system, again, sorry for bouncing around across a couple of the different products. This is set up for a Wiggins bottom load design. All of our tanks come standard with the porting to be able to add into the Wiggins. This particular truck, the customer had Wiggins. Obviously, we had the system on the fuel delivery in the back, but quick load for bottom fill. Everybody that's speccing one of these trucks know how you have to fill your fuel. You just need to let us know, is it Wiggins, is it a Scully system at a terminal delivery, or can you just do top load? Next compartment back, this is our used filter box. And one of the things that we do different standard is we plumb all of our used filter boxes directly back into the waste oil, so that you don't have to reach your hose in there or try to drain it into a bucket. There's a real simple system with a ball valve. You just turn it on while you're operating your waste oil pump, and it'll drain out any of the oil that's leaking out from the filters. Next product, just more storage. Again, we can never get enough storage on these things, but we can add toolboxes to it. Sometimes people, if you have a specific piece of machinery with longer filters, just let us know. We could increase the size of the filter box, but we're working with, about 5 feet of space, so we can fill that with storage options and filter boxes, however works best for your application. Now let's move up to the top. First, pull down staircase, 3 points of contact. Up top, this is where we're keeping all of our lubricant products. Comes standard on our 2,000 gallon fuel and lube. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 oil products. Each is 100 gallons. We have a 250 gallon waste oil tank. Typically, the rule of thumb for speccing out your waste oil tank versus your products is that we want approximately double one of our product tanks, and that's the size of the waste oil tank that we're going to spec for for the truck. On our 1,000-gallon fuel and lubes, we're typically running 4 75-gallon products and 150-gallon waste. And if we're doing a 16-foot all-enclosed lube truck only, we're usually running 5 100-gallon products and a 200-gallon waste. So again, all these systems are more or less the same, whether we're going to run a straight fuel truck, whether we're going to run a dedicated lube truck, or if we're going to run a combination truck like the fuel and lube. We just build these things to meet your specific applications. All of the product tanks come standard with, I'll point this way so you can see it, sight gauges, and they have a port on the bottom where if the need be, we can put in heating or filament heaters or antifreeze heaters if you're in a cold environment. Again, this is our oil drum, 400 pounds, 50 gallons. This one is spec'd specifically with the antifreeze heat plate on the bottom of it. So the truck engine antifreeze is running through the heat plate, warming up your grease in a cold environment, making it easier to dispense. Over here we have spec'd out a 30 CFM compressor. Again, because it's a hydraulic system, it's hydraulically driven. The air compressor is powering our water products, which are over here, both the antifreeze and the DEF, and it is also powering our waste oil and our grease. So we have air pumps on the grease, we have 1-to-1 diaphragms on the antifreeze and the DEF, and we have 1-to-1 diaphragm valves on our waste oil. The rest of the products we're using a oil gear pump, and they're hydraulically driven, and that's what this manifold is right here. So it looks like a lot because it kind of is, but we want to make sure that all of our pumps and our manifolds and solenoids, everything is easy to access and easy to maintain. And I do want to take this time to talk a little bit more about the difference between oil gear pumps and the air pumps for our products. It's probably the most common question asked, and really there's a couple key differences. One, hydraulic is a little bit more expensive, but as I said on the back, typically you're going to get somewhere in the range of 10 to 12 gallons per minute of dispensing production out of an oil gear pump. If we want to spec an air pump, our standard would be a Graco 5-to-1, where depending on the time of the year and the weight of the oil that you're dispensing, you're probably somewhere between 3 and 5 gallons per minute per pump. So as you can see, the production on an oil gear pump at times can be almost 3 times what you're getting out of an air pump. So that's a factor that needs to be considered as you're speccing out your truck. The other key difference is just in durability. These pumps have just been bomb-proof, and whether we're running them in the wintertime and we're pulling thicker product through them that's not fully warm or as fluid as it is on a 90-degree day, they work hard. They're still going to dispense the products. With the air pumps, you have condensation that you have to worry about, or freezing up. Anytime you're creating air pressure, you're creating that condensation, and so you have to consider that in the winter as well. But ultimately, it really doesn't matter much to us what you want. We want to make sure that we're speccing out products that meet your needs exactly. And if you don't need the production out of an oil gear pump, we can certainly back it down to an air pump and save a little bit of money in the process. Also, talking about our hydraulic system, we do have a hydraulic cooler up here that's connected to the loop to make sure that we're not creating too much heat and to keep our hydraulic system running. All of the product tanks on this come standard with steel, except for our antifreeze and our DEF. We have two options with antifreeze and DEF, and it could either be stainless steel or it could be poly. In this case, we built stainless steel tanks, but poly's fine. On the DEF tank, we did put an engine coolant heater, filament heater in the tank because DEF does freeze. And we highly recommend, especially unless you're living here in Arizona, that you put a heater on your DEF. If there's any chance of it freezing at all, you're going to have a 55-gallon ice cube on your hands. So I think that pretty much walks us around these trucks. The last thing I'll say is, you know, keep in mind as you're working with your salesman or as you're thinking about your fuel and lube trucks, just try and keep it simple. Let's break down what kind of job you're doing, what kind of capacities need to be carried. There's a number of different options that we can provide you to be more flexible. Our team has hundreds of combined years of experience with this product, and that's ultimately how we've landed on this particular spec to be our standard. But certainly it's just weight and it's just product tanks. So if you work with us, let us know what products that you're looking to carry, what quantities you think you need per service, and how quickly you need to dispense them. With those questions, we can really dial it in and provide a good solid product for you. So we'll step back down here. And we'll open it up for questions.
We had someone just join us a little bit late, so they had a couple questions. They were asking if 10 micron type oil filters be added for oil products to protect the equipment.
Yes, there's room on there. We can add oil filters to every single product that we have back there. So if you have a specific requirement for any of your oil products, we can add in oil filtration.
Okay, and then can you just comment again about, can you make multiple compartment fuel tanks? Yes. Again, I'll just repeat it again. We can compartment off our fuel tanks. So it's really not uncommon for somebody to want to run on highway and off-highway diesel fuel. If that's the case, what we use are tank heads as baffles and just run them opposed. And we can compartmentalize the fuel tank and break it down in whatever increment you need to see.
Trying to restate the question.
Yeah.
Really, just give them one more minute for questions. You covered basically everything.
Okay. We'll give you one more minute if anybody has any other additional questions. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we do have one more hour on mechanics trucks here, an hour from now, so hopefully you log in to see that. And certainly if you have any questions, reach out to us or one of the members of our sales team, and we'll help you out any way we can. But hopefully this explained a little bit more about our fuel and lube and lube only products offered at Curry Supply. Thank you.